beautiful people. We are so excited for you to be a part of this journey because little did you know, you're a part of something that you didn't know you needed.
Welcome to the Mental Max Out podcast, where we like to bring our living room conversations to your living room, or your drive, or your gym workout, wherever you might be tuning in from. We thank you so much for being here.
And it's probably going to be a baby running around, but deal with it.
That's life.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the couple that brings you things to think about, real life, a baby running around.
Welcome back, everybody. We are so thankful that you guys continue to tune in with us every single week. It's what keeps us going.
Come on.
No, but for real, it is one of those things where, this is just such a fun thing for Akeem and I to have fellowship with each other. Don't get me wrong, we talk all the time, but to just kind of hop on here and chit chat and just talk about life helps us be more intentional even in our relationship. So I appreciate all of you who are along for the ride in our relationship bonding.
Like she said, we love doing it. And if it changes one person's life for someone to think about things differently, then it's well worth it. At the end of the day, we always want to have something that Serena can look back on and say, man, my parents were awesome. But in any case, we are so glad you're here. When I was in college, I heard a lot of crazy chants, a lot of crazy things that coaches would say to teams.
You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah, and stupid things like be the hammer, not the nail. And, just all those chants and things you would put on the top of a t-shirt.
That's real? People say that?
Oh.
Be the hammer, not the nail?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
What does that even mean?
What do you mean? What is that? Like, be the hammer and not the nail? So, okay. Well, we're all learning in real time. So, the hammer's the aggressor, and the nail is just put in place. And so, at the end of the day, they're like, be the aggressor and hammer the opponent, and don't be the nail getting hammered into the ground.
Oh, okay. Now that you're saying it, and I'm thinking about it in a sports context, I understand. But in just everyday life, to be advised to be an aggressor, I was like, that's the worst advice ever. If you're just walking around telling everyday people that they should be aggressors, then I don't think you should be giving advice.
Facts. But some people probably already thinking that and just going about it that kind of way. But it brought me to this one shirt that I saw, and it used to say, the standard is the standard. And I started thinking to myself, if you were to take that saying out of athletics, what would that look like in a relationship? Is there a standard within a relationship?
The standard is the standard. I feel like everybody sets expectations for themselves, their life, their future, their family, based on context. The people around you, your upbringing, your parents, your belief system, your core, your morals, all those things kind of set this precedent for what you decide your standards are, right? Because think about it, like you go after that guy at the bar that, isn't the cutest, and they're like, girl, I'll have standards. Like, what are your standards? And I think we all develop standards for every aspect of our life, our career, our family, our relationship, ourselves. When I was postpartum, I was constantly comparing myself to the women that I saw on social media, this idea of what I thought motherhood was going to be like. And Akeem had to keep reminding me, and he kept asking me, whose standard are you going off of? And of course, if you have ever been a postpartum mom, you know that doesn't matter. And that question is just whatever, obsolete. But eventually I came around to realizing I was trying to do things the way the world, social media, other people were portraying, because I set my standard for motherhood not based on what I want or what I was experiencing, but what I thought I should be wanting and experiencing. And it was just toxic.
I'm going to take them simpler than that. I think there's a Disney Channel standard. Like when you're a kid and you watch that Disney movie, whatever princess you see gets the happy ending, that is setting the standard to saying that's what you should get. You should be happy every second. It shouldn't be hard. It should come at you naturally. And at the end of every one of those movies, the Disney princess is living her ultimate life. She got everything she wanted. And in some cases, I believe that's how we think about it. We should get the ideal job on the first try. We should get the ideal salary. We should get all the things that we wanted because as we were growing up, that's what we saw. But that's not always the case. And like when you say the standard is the standard, I think we get sold this lie to say, not only is this a really high standard, I don't even think that's obtainable. You can't even truly reach that high of a standard. When you were dealing with things postpartum, you had no standard. It was, I'm trying to make it to the next hour. I'm trying to be the best person I can be in real time, the best mom I can be in real time, but I don't know what that is right now.
Got no clue.
No clue. And so I'm trying to figure it out, but you're going to have to give me some time.
It's crazy too because in that scenario, I'll be honest, I shouldn't have even had a standard because I didn't know. How can I have a standard for being a first-time mom? I haven't even tried. To me, if you're going to set standards, you have some context for which you're getting that basis of information based off experience. Okay, you want to do something a certain way because you've had success before, or you know it can work, like you have standards for the type of employees that you want to hire. I don't know, the type of clothes that you want to wear, whatever it might be. But when you're a first-time mom, it is impossible to set standards because you don't know. You know based off what other people are doing and you have an idea, but to say I'm going to hold myself to this expectation is just unrealistic. And then to say, oh, this is what my standard is, honey, you just got there. You don't know.
That's so powerful. You don't know. What's even more powerful about that is you have to be willing to tell yourself that. When we try to get into the realm of, I'm the leader, I'm the mother, I'm the father, I should know, or people have told me this is what I should be doing, that puts so much pressure on you in reality when you have no idea what you're doing. Honestly, the only reason why you have a standard is because you either watched someone else do it and you thought they were successful, or you tried it and you sucked at it and you kept perfecting it.
Okay, you're saying, right, the standard is the standard because you know the word standard has two meanings.
Did not know this.
It is a noun and it is an adjective.
Words.
So as a noun, a standard is a level of quality or attainment, but an adjective, which is a describing word, used or accepted as normal or average. So to say the restaurant offers a high standard of service versus the standard rate of something. When you say the standard is the standard, to me, I'm like, okay, so that means achieving high quality is always the norm when you put those two words together. The norm should always be achieving high quality. And I don't disagree with that. I think that we should always be trying our best to achieve something greater, something more, something that challenges us, something that forces us to grow. I think that we should always be striving for something, but it may not always be normal for us to be in that lane. Think about it. You don't always drive in the fast lane, because sometimes you're just not in a hurry. So to say that it's normal for you to always be striving towards something, I think is exhausting.
Not only is it exhausting, you don't even know where you're going. To use your analogy about the fast lane, I think if you hurried your life to try to get there, you miss out on things, small attention to detail to things. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, I don't set standards. Or I don't think of my relationship like that, or I don't do that to myself. Let me flip it on you and have you think about it this way. If your partner does something that gets on your nerves, why do you think it gets on your nerves? Because you have set a precedent or standard to say that bothers me.
So standards are a cousin to expectations.
Yes, they live in the same building. And so even if you don't use the word standard or lying to yourself and saying, well, I don't think of my partner like that, they do something that bothers you. They have a tendency that gets under your skin. And because of that, you have this expectation that they should be doing something a different kind of way. And so what we're trying to say is, how can you look at these things and start to say, you know what? I can work with that. You have to start to look at it through a different lens. You have to start to look at it instead of saying, I can't stand when this person does that. Accept them for it. Accept them for it. And if it bothers you that much, you change your perspective on it. Don't try to force the other person to change their perspective on it.
Okay, look at it like this. We have a standard in our house that every morning the bed is made. In the mornings, Akeem may get up before me, and when I get out of bed, I might go to the bathroom, get my juice, read my Bible, do my whole thing, and then go back in the room to change or do whatever and make the bed at that time. Or if in all of me doing that little morning routine, Akeem goes back into our room for something, he might make the bed. The expectation or standard is not the last person that leaves the bed makes the bed. It's just that the bed will be made in the morning for the day. I can see where if it was this, well, the standard is that, the bed is made immediately upon, awaking from the day, that would be something that might cause tension or stress in our house because we're not fast paced in the morning. We both like to get up, do our thing. We don't really do things in a hurry or very regimented. And so if one of us was under stress to make the bed and make sure you make the bed because you're the last person in bed to uphold this standard, it can be stressful. But we allow ourselves to have grace in knowing that if we get out of bed at 7 o'clock, by 11, the bed will have been made. And that's okay. The standard is still achieved. It's still the standard. But we never go to bed and the bed has not been made. That just doesn't happen in our house. Some days one of us might be sick. There might be a lot going on. Maybe we woke up late and we're in a hurry and the bed doesn't get made till noon. That definitely happens sometimes, especially on the weekends. But the bed is still made. And so I just think that when you think about the standards, you also have to look at how they're being achieved. If you're under constant stress and pressure to achieve these standards, then they're not really working for your life in a positive way, and you might need to reevaluate them.
One of the things that I love about teams in competition is they don't care how they get it done. Saying when I saw the shirt, it literally says the standard is the standard, not the standard is the standard if this happens. The standard is the standard if we score this many points. No, the standard is just the standard. And what I think is happening in a lot of relationships are people are going into relationships saying, well, these are my standards and you have your own standards. And we're just going to try to coexist with each other and make it to the end of the day with two separate ways of living to try to be one. And to me, that is setting yourself up for disaster because you aren't even speaking the same language. Back to what you were saying earlier about the bed being made. I wasn't coming in the relationship saying, hey, I need the bed made. I was just saying, hey, I love when the bed is made. I think it just kind of helps us reevaluate our day. And after a long day, it's something nice to get back into.
I didn't make my bed every day before being in this relationship. I would just like to let everybody know that.
Okay. I didn't force her to do that. I just kept doing it. And at some point, she started doing it when I didn't do it because it then became our standard.
And it became a habit. And what's even crazier is now, say we're in an argument, a little tizzy, if you will, and there's some tension in the household.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad bit. Without fail, every morning we thank the other person for making the bed, whoever made the bed. And it kind of honestly is really good for us because it lets somebody's guard down. Because then they have to say, you're welcome. Yes. And it starts conversation and it forces conversation. It goes back to what we said a few weeks ago about gratitude, right? Don't withhold gratitude and don't be selfish with your thank yous. Set standards with your partner and hold each other accountable in a positive way. But there are also ways to build in, hey, thank you for doing this for me. Thank you for making the bed. Thank you for wiping down the counter. There are so many ways that you can use these as little checkpoints in your relationship too.
At the end of the day, the standard should be leading you both towards creating habits towards working with one another. They shouldn't be like alienating you from each other and separating you in the household from each other. Like if there's a standard, you're not implementing this standard because you're like, this is how it's done. No, I'm going to expose Allison a little bit because I did that. I don't know what it is with women and it comes to leggings. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, she already knows what I'm about to say. I don't know what it is about women and it comes to leggings, but something about getting out of them. So she does this thing where she's like, oh, thank goodness, I'm going to get out of these leggings. And she pulls her leg through the legging, but the underwear then gets rolled up into it. That drives me insane.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. Getting out of your leggings at the end of a long day, the inside out legging with the thong still wrapped in it.
It drives me nuts. And for me, I used to approach it and be like, hey, this is very inconsiderate. This is really bothering me when you do this. And what I was doing was I had a standard for how I wash clothes, but it was bothering me to separate them. But my habit I started to create was one of demeaning, one of approaching her in a way where I was like, you need to fix this. And then after a while, I said, you know what? That's just a habit that she has. I still want to do the clothes. And so I'm just going to do this and not put her down, belittle her, because I was creating a terrible habit from doing it. So your standard should create habits that help you work with each other and not separate you from each other.
Y'all, I just thought they were magically getting separated in the wash. Like, let's be honest, I just thought that everything was getting thrown in and the spin cycle of the wash was just separating my clothes for me.
There's
So
magical
it was
laundry fairies.
magic laundry fairies that were getting it done. But no, seriously, I think that it's important in your relationship to set standards. We've all seen the signs at Hobby Lobby that you put on your wall, the decor. And they say house rules, always say I love you, always kiss goodnight, blah, 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 wash your hands after you pee. You know, it's all on one side, and it's this really lovey-dovey, need to remind everybody.
You better wash your hands.
When you talk about being in a relationship with somebody or parenting with your children or your coworkers or your teams that you lead, setting standards up front and having conversations about those standards constantly, I think, are important because you want to let everybody know what's the expectation. 3 years go by, 3 months go by, things change. So how does the expectation change when the team changes? How does the expectation change when the season of life changes? You have to be prepared to adjust because to say, yeah, when we used to work in athletics, the bed was made by 7 a.m. because we were both out the door by 7 a.m. So that was the standard. But now that Akeem works from home and I work from home some days, the bed may not get made till 11. But if the expectation was still the bed gets made by 7, then we'd both lose. So at the end of the day, I think it's important to constantly reevaluate not just your standards for your relationships or your interactions with other people, but yourself. What are the goals that you set for this year? It's March. Is the goal that you set back in January still a goal that's attainable for you? And is it even still a goal that you're interested in? I mean, by this point, the drop-off rate for New Year's resolution has got to be in the it's high. People have dropped off significantly by the time we get to March. And here in Louisiana, we just had Mardi Gras, so I know some people are down the shooter with their goals. And so you have to look at yourself and reevaluate, okay, is the goal I set in January still a good goal for me? Say my goal was to work out every day and you have not. But if your goal was still to get healthier this year, then okay, that's still the standard. Get healthier, but how do you need to do it now? Because the way that you started may not be the way that you finish, but you can still do it.
I was working on another team at one point, and the coach used to always say, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. When he first told me that, I was kind of like, what are you talking about? I'm giving my all. I'm working as hard as I can. And he used to be like, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. That is the same thing when you use the words standard, boundaries, expectations. You are either putting yourself, your family, loved ones in a situation where you are either demonstrating the behavior that you want to represent or you don't, or you're allowing people to cross over into boundaries, continue to not meet expectations, and you're not saying anything to them. Once I heard that and took that perspective, that changed everything.
You always have to lead by example, regardless of if it is in your house, with your family, your teams, your staff, whatever it might be. You always have to lead by example. And sometimes that means showing up and exemplifying the behavior that you expect or holding the behavior you expect accountable. Because if you're constantly letting something slide, then you're not upholding the standard. And if you're constantly the one breaking the standard, you're also not upholding the standard. So at the end of the day, you are always responsible, just like in your own life. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody is coming to help you achieve your goals. You have to be the one to wake up and work out every day. You have to be the one to eat healthier. You have to be the one to do the things that you want to do to change your situation. People are not going to just do it for you.
Not only that, I loved what you were saying because it was getting me hyped. You have to stand firm in it. One of the things that we have as a standard that we stand firm on is when Serena was really young, and even now, we don't want anyone kissing her. We didn't want any of her relatives kissing her. I kiss her. Her mom kisses her. But no one else kisses her. Why? Because we didn't want her to get a disease. We didn't want forced interaction. And for me, it was really weird. When I first introduced this to Allison, we had to have a discussion about it. And she said, if you're willing to uphold that and make sure you can check people when they do that, then okay, we'll do it. I have to approach them and say, hey, we're not doing that. Do not do that. I don't care who it is, because that's the standard that we have set. That is something that we don't care who you are. You will not disrespect us on this boundary. What are some things you have let slide that are bothering you? Because you know what they are. And if they are bothering you, you need to stand firm enough in that decision to say, no, you're not going to do that. And whatever the other person decides to do based off of your stance, then so be it.
If you don't stand firm in your core, what you believe, what you want your standards to be, then at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up in a space of frustration, resentment, annoyance, stress, when it really could have all been avoided by one of two things: holding the standard firm and moving a standard to a place where you feel more comfortable, because sometimes we need to move our standards for us to not feel stressed, and sometimes we need to stand firm in them for us to not feel stressed. So one of those two things needs to happen in every scenario, and you're the person that's in control of that.
At the end of the day, we just want to give you some things to think about. We want to give you some things that can help you into your next conversation, your next relationship, continue to strengthen your relationship, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make it. We're all just trying to get better individually as a couple. And so we love the fact that you're here. Don't let it be your last.
Thank you so much for tuning in with us this week. We hope that you took from our conversation something that will help you grow this week.
We hope you laughed, didn't cry, but definitely got a good smile out of it, because, heck, we always appreciate you coming by.
If you're so inclined, follow us on social media at Mental Max Out the Podcast on Instagram.
Tell your friends.
See you next time.